Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Shakespeare Distillery and our 30-minute section of tonight's streaming. How are we all enjoying Wonderful World Gin Day? You've got a big box of goodies there, and I hope you're all resisting trying these different gins until it gets to that particular distillery stream. My name's Peter, and I'm one of the founders and directors of Shakespeare Distillery. So you've got me now for half an hour. I'm going to take you through not only tasting the lovely Stratford gin you've got there, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the distillery, what makes us different, who we are. We're also going to do a little bit of a cocktail making for you. So for those of you who've got your ingredients you've seen in the kit, we're going to be showing you how to make a very simple Tudor Tom Collins with the Stratford gin you've got there. So when it comes to the tasting, if you're going to make a cocktail or the G&T, make sure you only take a little bit for the tasting, save it all for the drink. And then while you're enjoying your cocktail or your G&T, we'll talk to you a little bit about the distillery, we'll show you a little virtual tour of where we are here in Stratford, and we'll talk to you about the future and what we do here. So we'll also answer some questions, I suppose, as well as we go through. Hopefully you'll have some questions in the comments section. I'll try and get to them at the end. All right, so where and what are we at Shakespeare Distillery? So we are just coming up to 5 years old, which means we were founded in 2015, which was really quite early on at the start of this new gin movement. Myself and the other director, Simon, we'd been to a lot of gin events, we really loved our gin, and we wanted to produce our own. And we were inspired by a lot of the stories of the early founders of this new kind of micro distilling movement. And we wanted to produce something quite authentic that spoke about where we live and where we work. So we needed to find a distillery. We first based our distillery on Alscott Park, just on the outskirts of Stratford. This is Alscott Park. Now, this is the house at Alscott. Trust me, this is not the distillery. We were rather based in what you might call a small shed at the bottom of their garden. The picture here doesn't really do it justice. It was a kind of wartime hut, and you can see there our original still in position. Really quite small, didn't give us a lot of space, but was a great place to start experimenting. And as I say, it was in the early days, and we wanted to do something quite interesting, quite authentic, and something that spoke to Stratford. As you might imagine, as I've said, we are Shakespeare Distillery, so the name probably gives it away that we're based in lovely Stratford upon Avon in the heart of Warwickshire. Stratford is famous, of course, for Shakespeare and for the RSC. You'll see a lovely picture from the bridge here of the river, Avon, and the theatre in the background. The river's never been so quiet as it has in lockdown. Really, even only the swans have got the river to themselves. Now, Stratford, of course, is a Tudor town, and that was the bit that sparked our imagination. We thought about the Tudor period and how we could reflect the themes and the tastes of the Tudor period in our gin. So one place you can visit quite close to us is Kenilworth Castle, not a million miles away from the distillery, and here is the original knot garden that was put in by Robert Dudley. Robert was given the castle by Queen Elizabeth I right bang in that Tudor period, and Robert lived there and he created this lovely herb garden. So a knot garden is really how the Tudors planted all their herbs in a lovely ornamental way and put box hedging around them and really made their garden look rather fantastic. We've got a herb garden like that also in Stratford. Now in Stratford we're talking about New Place. New Place is the home of William Shakespeare, the second home. It wasn't where he was born, but it was where he died. When he'd become rich and famous as a playwright, he returned to Stratford and he lived and he bought New Place. And I'll come on to New Place again towards the end because it's really important as part of our story. But you can see there Shakespeare's lovely recreated Tudor knot garden. And this gave us our inspiration for our gins. And those of the people that know me will also know I like my gin to be very ginny, right? None of these alcopops. I don't like very sweet things. We wanted to make a gin that was really kind of slap in the face juniper, and that's what we think we've done with our Stratford gin. Okay, no more talking, let's get on to the taste. I'm sure some of you have already cracked open the little lovely beautiful square bottle and you're probably already ahead of me, but let's go and do it together. So we're going to taste a little bit of the gin neat. Open up your bottle. I've got a bigger bottle here, as you might imagine, but we're going to pour just a couple of mouthfuls in the base of whatever glass you've got and give it a swirl. We're actually going to take the first few sips neat, Not something you do with every gin, because of course not all gins are alike. We distill this really slowly. It's 45% ABV. And we're going to taste a little sit and eat, but you're not going to have that burn. Now before you taste it, just swirl it and smell and see what you get there. And remember, I've already given you the clue. We've talked about herb gardens. Yep, you get the smell of a lovely English herb garden along with that juniper. And that's beautiful. Take a sip. And just let that linger on the tongue before it goes in the back of the throat. Notice I'm not coughing. As I say, the reason we do everything by hand and we distill really slowly, you get rid of all that burn in the spirit. Cheap spirits that are distilled quickly have that thing that burns at the back of the throat, and you would never drink it neat. I can actually sip that neat and take that, and you get those lovely herbal flavours from that. Now, the interesting thing here is it took 2 years of experimentation before we got to the final recipe. And really the light bulb moment was a visit to another of Shakespeare's houses. This was Mary Arden's farm. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mary Arden was Shakespeare's mother, and her and her family lived in a farm on the edge of Stratford. And here, you can go and visit it, obviously in normal circumstances, and you can see the gardens and the way that farming was in the Tudor period. And we visited early on, and there was the light bulb moment. They had a list and they had displays showing everything that was growing in the garden in Tudor period. And that gave us a narrowing down of our botanicals, because you can put anything you like in gin. We were just interested in the Tudor period, and there was the information. And we did a lot of research and came up with the idea of a lovely herbal style gin. Now, before we talk about the botanicals, we're just going to open this gin up with a little bit of tonic. So reach for some tonic, whatever you've got in your box or maybe you've got in the fridge. The plainest tonic you've got. No flavours here, folks, just either the plain Fever Tree, the light, something like that. Not a spicy tonic, so no Fentimans or anything like that. Just a lovely, straightforward tonic. And we're going to open that up, and we're just going to maybe double, just add a few drops, just to expand the liquid. And what that does is it just allows those other botanicals to break free, and we'll talk about them. So have a little taste of that. That's almost like a mini G&T, isn't it now? Taste the freshness of the Tudor herb garden. And that is absolutely banging. Loads of juniper. So 10 botanicals in the Stratford gin, and I'm going to talk about them while you enjoy those few sips. Juniper, of course, has to be in every gin. We have coriander, again in most gins for spice balance, and angelica root. Our root is angelica. Gives the base notes to the gin, but it also helps the flavours stick onto the alcohol, which is good for when you go back to your gin after a few months. You still want those flavours and smells there, just like a bottle of perfume. And we also have citrus balance, which we're now getting through the expansion of the tonic. Orange and lemon citrus in there. And our Tudor garden botanicals are the other 5 we have. Lovage, Old English lovage, a thing that perhaps has been forgotten. Few celebrity chefs using it at the moment. The lovage plant was the centre of a Tudor knot planting, which is why we selected it. Looks a bit like celery when it's growing, and we use the dried seeds. A little bit thyme-like in their flavour with a little bit of spice. And interestingly, the Tudor folk used to use this back in the day as a breath freshener. So after meals, they would use the lovage to freshen their breath. We've also got rosemary in there. Rosemary, as Shakespeare said, for remembrance. If you come and visit Stratford, you will often see rosemary growing because of Shakespeare and the links there. We also have some sage, some lemon balm, again herbal, and what other thing is synonymous with Tudor period? The very famous symbol of the Tudor rose. And so we added in a little bit of Tudor rose there. It's not Tudor age, don't worry. But tiny bit. This is not a floral gin. This is very much a herbal gin. There are not many herbal gins actually on the market, which makes it stand out, makes it a little bit unique. Probably the only one you'll know, perhaps from the mainstream, from the supermarket, would be Gin Mare from Barcelona. But they use Mediterranean herbs, they use olives. Here, we've very much got the English nature of the herbs. So enjoy having a taste of that. As I say, slowly distilled, 45%, absolutely beautiful. Okay, enjoying the taste? Brilliant. Now, I think it's time to make a drink. So, if you're going to have a gin and tonic and you've not got the cocktail ingredients, now is the time to make your gin and tonic. Just make this as a full strength gin with the rest of the tonic, and away we go. And if you're garnishing it, our perfect serve, which is actually listed in the little booklet we sent with the gin, either a slice of lemon or a slice of orange. They're both citruses in the gin to complement. And again, we often use a sprig of rosemary. Rosemary again. Now the reason I like to use the rosemary, it complements what's in the gin. But if you think about this, a great big copa glass full of ice with the sprig of rosemary out there, you're going to get the smell of rosemary before you've even tasted the gin. And that's the great thing. With garnish, you can have it as a lead-in to the drink itself before you even get the liquid in your mouth. Fantastic. Okay, now if you are going to be making the cocktail, you'll need to have your lemons ready or squeeze them if you're not going to muddle them. Sam's going to show you how to muddle them in a minute. So if you are going to muddle your lemons, you want something like a muddler, or if you've got a rolling pin handy, that's what we're going to do and muddle it. So I'm going to hand you over now to Sam, our mixologist and brand ambassador, to make this cocktail. Sam, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. So I'm going to show you how to make our Tudor Tom Collins. As this is a shaken drink with an element of citrus, we are going to be using cocktail tins. So you're going to start with your smaller cocktail tin. Much easier to make a drink in the smaller one rather than the bigger one because you can get a really good look in. And we're going to add straight away 3 wedges of lemon. Once you've added your 3 wedges of lemon, you can follow through with half a shot of sugar syrup. So we're using Funkin' Pro's sugar syrup. If you haven't got any sugar syrup, it is really easy for you to make it at home. So you can either do 1:1 ratio with sugar and water, or 1.5, and just put it in a pan, give it a heat up and wait until it dissolves, and you have sugar syrup. Obviously, because of the sugar, it lasts for a really long time, so you can just keep it in the fridge. So that's kind of your easy way of doing sugar syrup. So once you've got that and your lemon in the tin, you can give it a really good muddle. And what this is doing is getting rid of all the juices in the lemons and getting it mixed nicely with the sugar syrup. And once you've done that, use your muddler and just give it a little try. And what you're looking for here is to make sure that it's not too sweet or not too sour. And mine's actually a little bit too sour, so if that's the case, I'll just add a tiny bit more sugar syrup, just a little drizzle. And this means then when you finish your drink and you come to try it, it won't be too sweet or it won't be too sour, it'll be just right. So then following on from that, you can add your double shot of Stratford Dry Gin. And then we're going to ice up the small tin and our glass. When icing your glass for any drink, whether that's a gin and tonic or a cocktail, always fill the glass to the top with ice. The more ice you have, it creates maximum chilling of the drink with minimum dilution. So this gives you a really fresh, really lovely tasting drink for longer rather than a watered down drink. You're then going to shake your cocktail shaker. So the small tin is full of ice. Put your big tin on top, keeping one side nice and straight with a gap on the other side. Give it a tap, and then you can shake. When shaking, you're going to shake for about 20 times, so this is really until the tins go properly cold, and make sure you're extending your arm and getting a lot of power into it. You want the ice to be able to go from one end of the shaker to the other to create maximum air moving around the tin, as well as chilling the liquid. Using kind of the bottom of your hand, then slap the gap and it will release the tins. And then you need your Hawthorne strainer and a fine strainer. This gets rid of all of those bits of lemon that probably have broken up, and then we're just going to pour it straight through and into the glass. And then to top this off, we're just going to top it up with a tiny bit of soda water. and then garnishing with a lemon wedge. And that is our Tudor Tom Collins. Enjoy.
Cheers, Sam. That is really good. This is one I made earlier, which is not as good as his. There's something about using freshly muddled lemon and sugar syrup that just makes it so refreshing. It's a similar recipe to one we use for our Stratford Gin slushy. So if you normally see us out and about in the summer when it is warm, we slush up our Stratford Gin in a refreshing adult version of a slushy, and it's absolutely fantastic. So if you see us, grab one of those. So while you guys now are enjoying either your G&T or your cocktail, gives me a chance to talk a little bit more about where we are and our products. So as you might imagine, as we started selling the gin, we soon ran out of space in the shed, and we had to find a bigger premises for the distillery. And eventually we settled upon where we are now, and we moved into our new distillery about 18 months ago. And we're really happy here, and we've actually just taken a little bit more space in a neighbouring unit, because again, these things happen and we expand. We increased production and we brought out some additional products into our portfolio. So let's have a look at where we are. Well, the first thing is we've got this lovely aerial shot of the distillery. You'll see us there in the bottom centre of the image. That's the distillery. You can't see on the side of the roof the solar panels, but if you look into the distance, you'll see a huge solar farm in the fields there. It's a 450-acre farm, and this is the largest solar plant in the Midlands, producing more than 14,000 homes worth of power, which is more than the population of Stratford. We are a very sustainable distillery because, of course, we get first dibs on the solar energy. So all our distillation and all our electricity for the building is produced from solar. We also use the rainwater. So if you think about it, like, actually we don't use rainwater, we use the rainwater for the stills. So what we do is we take our cooling water that we use to produce the gin, and we actually use it as rainwater and pour it into our lovely herb garden that we've created for visitors to wander amongst the rosemary plants and other things around the distillery. So let's have a look at the two stills. Here's a little tour round. You can see it looks quite different. We've moved on from the shed for sure. There they are. And the extra space we gained, the great thing was it leads us to do distillery tours. And that's the great thing. We can now have you guys in and we show you our passion. We show you how we make our gins, how we bottle them. We talk about distillation, and you get to do a tasting of the gins while you're on site. We also do a number of classes. One of the most popular is our gin school in the room I'm in now. You can see here 10 mini stills, and you guys get to come for the afternoon and make your own bottle of gin. We help you. You saw probably the botanicals behind Sam in that in his demo there. He was in front of all our botanicals. You get to pick them. Also some from our herb garden if you want, or bring some from home and produce your own lovely bottles of gin. All the information about this is in the other leaflet I think we sent out in your pack. And we've got, of course, got an on-site shop as well, which we've just reopened this week, of course, on the back of all these changes. So we're now selling gin again through the shop. It's just become really popular. The gin school is extremely popular, a lot of fun, as are some of the cocktail masterclasses, which I'll come on to a bit later. So first of all, I'm going to look at some of the products we sell, because I'm sure you've all been eyeing these up, and I bet there's been questions flying in. Here's the Stratford Gin. Our second product was this beautiful mulberry gin, our take on a slow style, right? This is a dark fruited gin liqueur at 30%. Why mulberries? Why not sloes? Why not damsons? Well, mulberries are very synonymous with Stratford. I showed you the picture earlier of New Place where Shakespeare lived. Well, Shakespeare, it's reputed, planted a mulberry tree there back in the time of King James I. James wanted to kickstart a British silk industry. Silkworms eat mulberry leaves. So he gave all the landowners these mulberry trees, and apparently he gave Shakespeare one. Now, the silkworms actually prefer to feast on white mulberries, but for some reason up and down this land, and you'll see them, I'm sure, if there's any history buffs, you'll see black mulberry trees from that period. So we don't know how James ended up with black mulberries, but I can tell you something, black mulberries taste an awful lot better in gin than white mulberries. So every year, courtesy of the Birthplace Trust, we go and harvest the mulberries from 3 trees in the gardens there at New Place, reputed to be the first generation cuttings of the tree that William Shakespeare planted. So we really have a lot of fun getting those mulberries off. They do stain, so we look a bit like an episode of Macbeth by the time we've finished harvesting all those mulberries, but it's a lot of fun. We steep them in the gin, and the result is this beautiful mulberry gin at 30%. Then, of course, we decided to launch this one, the pink gin. Now, many of you, I'm sure, will love your pink gin, and who doesn't love a pink gin? Ours is based on another Tudor favourite, the rhubarb plant. So our pinkness and our flavour come purely from the addition of freshly pressed rhubarb juice that we again press ourselves here at the distillery. So think of the rhubarb, all that lovely pink juice when you press a rhubarb plant, and adding that to the Stratford gin, and you get this beautiful pingy rhubarb gin. This is one of my favourites. It's 40%, full strength gin. As I say, we don't make alcopops here, and it's not too sweet, so you get a little bit of that rhubarb ping, and I love this with ginger ale. This is fantastic. Simple cocktail, maybe a squeeze of lime or orange, and well, that bottle doesn't last me very long, I can tell you. And then just before Christmas, we thought it was time, as we'd settled into our new home and we'd been running the tours, to launch a fourth gin. And here it is, our elderflower and quince, a brown looking concoction, but the quince is the Tudor link here. The quince was the noble fruit of the Tudors. Shakespeare mentions it in the plays, and it's a cross between, say, an apple and a pear. So it's got sharpness, but it's got that lovely perfumed nature of the pear. And we offset that tartness with just this lovely, fresh, natural elderflower. And this has become a real rapid favourite when we do the drinks that are included in part of your tour here. A lot of people are having this elderflower and quince gin, and I really like it with the Fever Tree do an aromatic tonic, the one with the Angostura in, and that makes a beautiful drink, again, for a Saturday evening. So another one that's really worth trying. So those are our four products. We do some distillery specials as well. At the moment, we've been playing around with barrel aging gin. We've been playing around with local blackberries from the end of last season, and we've got some two little additions there as well, amongst other things. And then we have all these sort of gift sets and bits and bobs like that. Now, we thought we'd do you an offer, and this is going to be the interesting thing here. We want to meet you guys, right? You've done the virtual tasting, you've had a little look around the distillery, but there's nothing better than seeing it for yourself. So here's the offer, and we've put a code on for World Gin Day. So if you want to buy one of these bottles in the next week and use the code World Gin Day, we'll throw into your basket 2 free adult tickets for one of our distillery tours here at the distillery in Stratford. It's an hour and a half. It includes a full tour of the distillery, distilling. How about you see the bottling as well, a little bit on the history of gin, and then we finish in here with the gin tasting of 3 of these spirits, plus you get your own gin and tonic to pick at the end. So you get a full-size drink as well. That's normally £30 for 2. So if you like, you're almost getting a bottle of gin for free just by using that code this weekend. So it's any of our 50 centilitre bottles, but also we've applied the code on our 2 tasting kits as well. So we have our home gin tasting kit shown on the left here, which is the box of gin. It's some nice tasting glasses that you saw me use earlier, some tonic and some chocolates, some gin truffles made by a lovely local chocolatier, Henley Chocolates, who use all our gins to make these lovely gin truffles. Or on the right, we have a slightly larger kit, our emergency gin kit, which has a full-size bottle of gin, 2 of our balloon glasses, and then, of course, some chocolates as well, a bigger box of chocolates. So any of those, if you buy those in the next week till next Saturday, you've got that. Pop that code in at the end of the checkout, and you should see that it drops 2 free tickets in your basket. If you've got any problems with the code, just drop us an email, give us a call, and we'll sort it out. Because what will be really great is to meet people that have, we've seen and interacted with on this chit chat today. Okay, the last thing I will talk about very briefly. We've launched 1 new product during lockdown, and what a crazy time to do it. And we never thought in a million years we'd be launching hand sanitizer. And you know lots of distilleries have been doing this, contributing towards the amazing work that their frontline workers have been doing in the healthcare system, as well as in local care homes. We have a hospice just down here, and we've donated a fair bit of this to the local community, but it is available on our website. Please don't drink it. Please don't put it near a naked flame, else you'll look like a Christmas pudding very, very quickly. But it is great hand sanitizer, and we're kind of great that we're still making this for local businesses, because of course Stratford is starting to come alive again now. And all these local shops and businesses all need hand sanitizer, so it's on their doorstep. But we just thought, who would have thought we'd have been making hand sanitizer? Okay, I'm now going to show you a little video of one of our experiences, and you'll see Sam again. So we're going to have a look at what one of our Friday night cocktail classes looks like in the distillery. There we go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Just a little look at what we do in this room. I've been looking at the questions. We've only got like 2 minutes left, so I'll very quickly go through the questions. It's nice to see so many of you commenting, and we like the fact that so many of you really like the gins as well. Hello to Faye and Rolls in Brighton. They were messaging me earlier this week. Isabella, of course, we know, who's been on the tour a few times, and David there. David, you say, do we have a bar here? Well, not strictly a bar, but we have a new coffee lounge that we're opening once the tours restart after lockdown, and you'll be able to come in, have a gin, or try one of the flights or something, even if you're not on a tour or at the shop. There was another question, what flavours in the mini set? Well, standard, we use our Stratford gin, our mulberry gin, and our rhubarb gin in there. But again, if you come to the shop or you put some notes in the comments on the order, we can switch out the elderflower and quince for one of those, so you can have that in whatever way you like, really, but that's the kind of default view of that. And then somebody else asked about the gin school. Well, the information on the gin school, he said, looking for the leaflet, that should have been in with your pack. There is a panel on the gin school there, but it's all on the website as well. So have a look, or again, give us a call. Happy to take some phone calls. Just let us know. And we have vouchers for those as well. So if you're doing Father's Day, you know, up to you really. There we go. Okay, guys, we're done. Follow us on social. Please follow us. Give us a click. Give us a like. All that. We hope to see you in Stratford soon once this is all over. And the promo code is there again. Don't forget, any of these bottles of gin, any of the 50cl on the website, or any of the 2 kits, and you'll get those tickets as long as you put the code in. You'll see the free tickets in your basket. Again, any issues, just give us a yell. We hope you've had a really good time. We've enjoyed doing it, and we hope the rest of the evening's okay, if you remember it, of course, and hope tomorrow morning's fine as well. And as I say, we look forward to seeing you all in Stratford soon. All right, have a good World Gin Day. Bye.